Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu5. Some of you may have known or remember the video about the Satanic Church and abortion, and I've been arguing with members or proponents of the Satanic Temple for a while now, and like ever since I left that comment, like it's been growing, and many people's thrown their hat in the ring, and it's just when I kind of forget about it, so I'm going to leave a new comment. Anyways, this is on that subject matter, the Satanic Church and abortion. This is more about abortion than the Satanic Church, but I pointed out that in my last video that the Satanic Temple, I sometimes call it church, but I think it's actually called the Satanic Temple, has 7 tenets. These 7 tenets are kind of like the 10 Commandments in Judaism. Anyways, their tenets contradict each other when it comes to abortion. And I pointed this out, and several people who promote the Satanic Temple pointed out, well, you're skipping over the most important tenet, that is autonomy, that's being your own master and not having anybody control you. And and being in charge of your own body is basically it. And so consent is very important to them. And I pointed out that, and this, along with this counter argument, they said, think of it like this. You may initially consent to donate blood or kidney or bone marrow to a sick or dying person, and then when you are on the operating table or anything, and they're taking the kidney from you, at any moment up until the time they put you under, you can say, hey, I don't want to do this, and you would be perfectly within your right to do this, and no one can blame you. And the fact that there's a sick person over here that's dying doesn't really matter, because it's ultimately your decision if you give them your kidney. And they said the same is for abortion. You have to consent, and in order for that baby human to live. And I said, well, this is a very flawed argument. And I said a more fair argument would be, I said, consider this: having unprotected sex is consent to harbor life in the womb. And I pointed out that this has been the rule of nature for all time. That when you have unprotected sex and you don't pull out or anything like that, the natural order of things is to expect pregnancy. That's the point of sex. And so a more accurate analogy with organ donating or blood or bone marrow would be if I consent to give my kidney, they take the kidney out of my body and put it in the sick person, and then when I wake up I decide, no, I want my kidney back. It's too inconvenient for me to be without my kidney. I want my kidney back, and I demand to have my kidney back from the person which I gave it. So that would be a more accurate analogy, because let's face it, you consented up until the time where you had every opportunity to give up, to reject your consent. You went through with it. The life has started. The foreign organ is now in the body, and it is no longer foreign, and that is a more accurate depiction of the organ donating analogy. And this woman who I was arguing with didn't argue the fact that you can't demand your kidney back, but she said no. She said, you're wrong. Having sex is not consent to harbor life. And I said, you're right. I said having unprotected sex is consent to harboring life. And I pointed out, like, this is natural. Like, when animals have sex, is generally to procreate. For all of time, sex has been associated with fertility and procreating. Now, there's nothing wrong with enjoying sex. I'm not arguing that. The and but I'm just saying that natural order of things, two people agree to have sex, and they do it in a manner that is known to cause impregnation, then you pretty much consent to harboring life. And it would be wrong to take that life just because you decide later that it's inconvenient. And I use some other examples. Let's just say I consent to take meth, or smoke cigarettes, or heroin, or drink alcohol. And I have no thought process at the time of becoming addicted or anything like that. But I know prior to taking meth or heroin or anything like that, that I know that the natural order of things is to become addicted. I grew up in the 90s. I took the DARE classes. I know that drugs are addictive. But maybe not at the time that I chose to do the drugs was I thinking of that, but I do know that that is the natural order of things. And I can't say, well, I knew prior to taking the drugs that I would be addicted or would possibly be addicted. And I knew that this was a very high likelihood, but I didn't consent to being addicted. I just chose to do something that I knew would cause addiction or could cause addiction. And so even though you're not thinking at the time, hey, I want to be addicted, you're doing something that you know is highly likely to result in addiction. Kind of like with alcohol. I'm not thinking, hey, I want to get a DUI and drive drunk and then run over someone. Whatever may happen first. But let's just say you choose to drink and you choose to drive. No one consents or no one knowingly drinks and drives with the intention of running over someone and killing them. But you know that if you drive drunk, that the result of that is to drive badly, crash, and possibly kill yourself and someone else. So it seems unreasonable to me to say, yes, I chose to drink and drive, and even though I knew that it could result and will likely result in crashing my car, I did not consent to crashing my car. You knew that that was a high likelihood when you did it. You just chose to ignore that little inconvenient fact to do something that was convenient or fun at the moment or at the meantime without thinking about the future. So, to me, the whole argument that consent is not involved, you're choosing to do those actions. You're choosing to have unprotected sex. You're choosing to have meth. You're choosing to drink and drive, knowing that it is highly likely that those things will result in pregnancy, addiction, and crashed cars, or getting a DUI. So, to me, you can't say I didn't consent because you knew that that was a high likelihood and then you chose to do it anyways. So, her argument falls flat. She didn't even refute me. She just said, hey, sex is not consent. And I said, she said, sex is not consent. And I said, yes, unprotected sex is consent because you can very well expect that pregnancy will occur. And so I thought this was interesting. I think it's a worthwhile conversation. A lot of these Satanists will say one thing at one moment and then completely do a 180 at the next. Some of them will say it is not a human, and then you'll have other group of people saying, yes, the fetus inside the womb is a human, but it's not a person. And a lot of them believe that personhood is conferred at taking first breath. As soon as the baby takes first breath, then it is a person, or he or she is a person. And I said, think of this little experiment. What if not if what if whales. Whales have babies in the ocean, and whales will push their babies to the surface to breathe. Now, consider this. This isn't a perfect analogy, but I take a spear gun, and before the whale can push the baby up to get its first breath, I shoot it and kill it. Did I kill a whale? Did I kill a baby whale? Now, the whale was out of the womb, but it didn't travel the distance to take its first breath. And so, did I kill a whale, or did I kill this just organism, medical waste, parasite, as some people may say? I use this argument along with, to counter partial birth abortions, where they allow the baby to come partially out of the woman's body, and then they kill it, but they're preventing it from taking its first breath. And then if those failed abortions, does that baby have human rights to medical attention? Some people say no. And obviously I believe that all human life has rights. Not that I'm saying that medical attention is a human right, but Hippocratic oath, you should do everything within your power to save someone's life. That is pretty obvious to me. If someone's on your operating table dying, you don't say, well, they're not human. That's what the Nazis did. Congratulations. But anyways, this was a very interesting insight. The Satanic Church has many contradictions, and they will quote science all day long, but a lot of the science that I've seen says that the fetus is life. And I've had one Satanist say the definition of being born is leaving the woman's body. So you can't say that life begins at birth, because the act of bringing the fetus out of the woman's body would confer birth or personhood on that fetus, even though the doctor murdered it while it was inside the woman's body. So it's just a lot of contradictions and a lot of nonsensical BS about, consent and, science. It doesn't make sense. I try to put myself in their mindset and see where they're coming from. And keep in mind, we're not even talking about rape or incest or all those other minority abortions that people use to justify abortions. And some people say, well, the baby can't live on its own, or it doesn't have brain function until this date, this date, and this date. And I asked them several times, I said, hey, what if the baby is at this certain stage, third trimester, what have you, how many weeks it is that they choose? What if the baby is at that point in the pregnancy unborn? Do you agree that they cannot be aborted? Do you agree that they have the right to life? And none of them has been able to answer me on that. So it's been very interesting and very wearisome. I get very frustrated and very weary of talking to these people because of their inconsistencies and their claim of value on life when they argue to destroy it. But that's it. That's my video. Thank you for watching. I'm Asatsu5, and I'm out.